The lectern is muted.
No, it's not muted. I'm waiting
Okay.
for my watch to tell me it's 7 o'clock.
Oh, okay. Looked like you were talking there, Beth.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Toastmasters for November 2nd. For our guest, Sam Otto, I am Beth Banks. I am the treasurer for Lockport Toastmasters.
Beth, he's our district director today.
He's our district director. He is, yes. Okay, welcome, Sam. Welcome, Sam, our district director. Appreciate you being here. Is he there? Maybe he's not there. Oh, okay. All right, and we will start with letting you know who is here. In person is Len Thornton, Mary Cavanero, Kate Orr, myself, Jackie Kenny, Marty Johnston, Mike Florio, Carol Ann Halstead, Nancy Ferry, Sylvia Baptiste, Steve Smith, and Jill Roaring. On Zoom is Margot Bittner, Eric Schneider, David Jones, and Dr. Stevens. And I guess Sam is coming, driving. Okay. Our inspiration role this morning is going to be filled by Margot Sue. Can you tell us what your inspiration is for today, Margot?
Of course. Peace will come through the grace of God and the actions of humanity. Compassion and kindness, forgiveness and love, patience and guidance, justice and mercy, empathy and understanding. You who makes peace in the heavens, guide our hearts and our hands in service to each other in your world, to bring peace to all nations and of the earth and to all people everywhere. Thank you, Madam Officer.
Thank you, Margot. Very appropriate for what is going on in the world. Appreciate it. And we will now say the pledge to the flag. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are there any announcements before we begin today? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Dave. Happy birthday to you. Dave Licata just arrived for those of you online. And it's his birthday today. And now I will turn the mic over to our Toastmaster for the day, Steve Smith.
Thank you. Oh, good. There's one of my questions answered. Just a little bit of bookkeeping here before we get into this. Yeah, I didn't see any sign of Les Robinson online. And if he...
Steve is Eric. He said he will not be making it to the meeting today.
Oh, okay. So in that case, I need someone for a jester when we get to that point. So if someone can think of something funny. And the other face I don't see is Tracy Farrell. She's one of our evaluators. Okay, well, just keep that in the back of your hat. Okay. Well, we have been extremely busy with Halloween this week. So I kind of got behind on things and didn't realize that I was the event or the Toastmaster today. So I said, "Oh, what am I going to talk about?" Well, everything has been so wrapped up for us with Halloween. Jill posted a lot of pictures on Facebook. I'm sure some of you saw them. Okay, Halloween's over. So what's today? What was that? Oh, that's right. It's Dave's birthday. I didn't even have that on my list. It's Dave's birthday. Yeah, it didn't make. It's not national. Sorry, Dave. Ugh. But it's a number of days today, and I'll get into some of them. First one I'm going to mention right now. Some of our people will enjoy this. It's International Stout Day. Stout, for those of you who don't indulge, is dark beer, and it's very good. Ugh. But let's get right into this. As soon as I find my list, there it is. Let's start with our word of the day, our Wagmaster, which is Sylvia Baptiste. Can we get a word of the day?
Morning. It's so nice to be here in person. I have not been here in person since September, maybe. Wow. I wasn't sure of the theme, and I knew with Steve, and they were very busy, him and Jill, with Halloween. So I kind of picked a Halloween word, sorry. Eldridge. Describe things that are strange or unnatural, especially in the way that inspires fear. And for example, to use it, she's afraid to visit the haunted houses because the eldritch decor and scary effects are too realistic for her. Eldritch.
As long as you're here, describe your
That's awesome. It's going to be tough. I'm going to be doing two others. I'm going to try to do grammarian and ahs and ums, and I'll give you a report at the end. Please use Eldridge in table topics.
Okay. Next up is our quote master, which today is Kate Orr. Do you have a quote? Yes. Ugh.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters. I love Eldritch holidays are my favorite. My quote is from Dolly Parton, though. Don't get so busy making a living that you forget to make a life. From Dolly Parton. Don't get so busy making a living that you forget to make a life. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Back to you.
I'll pass over Jester for a minute unless someone has got a quick jest they want to do. And we will go to our quiz master, Carol Ann Halstead.
Good morning. As quiz master, I will see how your listening skills are this morning, and I will be asking questions at the end of the meeting. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you. Our timer today is Eric Schneider. Is Eric there?
Yes, I am here.
Tell us your duties.
Steve, before I begin the timing, where I'm going to be explaining my role, I do have some jokes
Oh,
for Halloween.
Okay.
So if you
Thank
don't
you.
mind, you're welcome.
Maybe.
All right, here's the who did the ghost take on a date? His ghoul friend.
Oh.
Why do ghosts go on diets? So they can keep their ghoulish figures. And I'll do one more. I know Dave's probably clapping, but why did the ghost go into the bar? For the booze. All right. Enough of that.
Yeah.
As your timer today, I will be timing table topics. And the parameters are for table topics, 1.5 to 2 minutes with a 15-second buffer. I know timing will be different today, but our regular times are 5 to 7 minutes. Green at 5, yellow at 6, and red on 7. And I know Marty has a longer speech, so I know that I'll be given the timing parameters for that. And our evaluators will be 2 to 3 minutes with a 15-second buffer. And I will report throughout the meeting. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you. As he said, Marty has a longer speech today, so I'm gonna try to keep this moving and keep my patter to a minimum, and I don't applaud for that. So let's get to table topics. Our table topic master is Joe Budnick. Joe's turn to have some fun.
Thank you, Steve.
Certainly.
It seems like there's a day for everything. It seems like. Do we have an underwater basket weaving day perhaps? Maybe somebody should invent it. It's quite an eldritch topic to think about when you stop and really consider it too much. But I'm sure everybody has favorite holidays as well. Jill, what is your favorite holiday and can you tell us about it? Thank you.
What a surprise that I got called.
You're good at it.
Yeah, I'm good at it, yeah. I can't say it ever used to be. But I would have to say at this point right now, Halloween, it's my favorite Halloween. Halloween is my favorite Halloween. Yes, it's my favorite party. Favorite holiday. See if I can get my words right here. Fellow Toastmasters and guests. Halloween is a day that can go in many different directions. As many of you know, we try to create a Halloween walk at our home. And it takes a month to put it up. And it's probably going to take us a month to put it down. Hopefully not, but it probably will. And we try and make it so it creates a bunch of eldritch responses. We had a tremendous amount of enjoyment this year. We had a few people go through on Saturday night when we had our party. And they came in and had drinks and that sort of thing and really enjoyed it. In fact, one was from my church, one couple. And they were talking it all up at Sunday services then. But Tuesday night, we had over 250 people go through. Which, considering that years ago, if we had one Halloween trick-or-treater at our house, that was pretty good. So that was a nice accomplishment. I don't know that we heard many eldritch type of screams out there, but people really did enjoy it. So to see all the enjoyment, I think is why we do it. And it's why Halloween is my favorite holiday right now. Thank you, Joe.
Well, Thanksgiving is coming up, a day that we give thanks and spend time with family and friends, hopefully. Mom and I usually just have dinner together, then we go to my cousin Amy's house for dessert, and I get to see all my second cousins, which is really cool. Dave Licata, what are your Thanksgiving plans this year? Can you tell us about it, please? Thank you.
Mr. Table Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters. Yes? Okay, great. Fantastic. Well, Thank you for the opportunity because Thanksgiving is indeed my favorite holiday. And I want the more sensitive people in the room to put their hands over their ears right now because I like Thanksgiving because it's Christmas without the crap. And by that, I mean, I'm married into a family. They're nuts. They will not, they're paralyzed every Christmas about, did I get the right gift for so-and-so? And I'm going, no, you go out, you buy the gift, you wrap and say, here you go. You don't worry about if they're going to like it or not. You want to all that trouble. And it may take them in a whole new direction. But, and then more and more is coming about the original Thanksgiving. And I thought if I went down that and talked about the original Thanksgiving, I could find a way to work in Eldridge, but I'm not having any luck. Because the Indians were pretty tame that day. And I think they brought the dessert. But I love Thanksgiving. I have wonderful memories of Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving used to be at my parents' house. Then we switched over to my brother Billy's house, but he's taking me out for dinner. And like so many people in Western New York, his family doesn't live here anymore. So I suspect that the Eldridge part of this dinner tonight will be that he's going, well, we're going down to North Carolina to see the kids for Thanksgiving. So I'll get a little grumpy because that'll break the routine. But that's the way I am. Sometimes. I know it's hard to believe. But we have that huge meal, but arguments have been made that the better meal is later on in the day with a couple rolls and some mayonnaise, salt and pepper, lettuce. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you. Well, I work in a school as a teacher's aide, so one day that I particularly enjoy are snow days. We all liked them when we were kids. We'd look out the window at night and see that storm and that snow and wind building up, and we're like, come on. Do I get a day off? Tracy Farrell, I see you online. Do you have a job? Oh, she's the evaluator. Okay. Len, am I allowed to call on you? Okay. Did you have snow days at school when you were a kid, and how did you spend them when they happened? Thank you, Len.
Thank you, Mr. Table Topic Master. I had to put the timer up before I came up here so I don't overspeak here. Did we have snow days when I was little? Of course we did, and we looked forward to them with great fervor. And there was a system in place. It wasn't all high tech and on the web. You didn't get a text message directly to your phone. You had to get up early and turn on WGR radio 9550 or WBEN. Was that 930, David? And there were certain approved stations that had every single listing. Now, I was cursed with living in the town of Tonawanda School District, and all of the announcements for closings were alphabetical. So it took a while to get to the T's. It really tested the patience. Wilson was worse, yes. It really tested the patience of us. But when indeed that call did come, and we heard those beautiful words, all Kenmore, Town of Tonawanda public and parochial schools are closed for today. That was such joy. Not that school was bad, but to have a little break on a cold, snowy morning was very nice, very welcome. Now, speaking with today's theme, there's nothing eldritch about a snow day, really, nothing mysterious. It's weather. We live in Western New York. It happens. Now, I don't like this cold, this long underwear season any more than anybody else. But we're Western New Yorkers. We put up with it. And if we're lucky, we fly someplace warm a couple times during the winter and defrost our bones. Mr. Topic Master.
Thank you. So I turn our meeting back over to our Toastmaster. And since winter's coming up, everyone please stay safe and warm this winter season, which hopefully, God willing, will be a mild one. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we get a word master's report?
Well, our three table topics contestants did use it. Jill twice, David twice, Len once. You got it in there in right timing. And then I had Kate use it. Joe used it a few times. And I think that's it. Thank you.
Now, can we get a timer's report?
Mr. Toastmaster, you may. Everybody in table topics made time in their time parameters. Jill at 2 minutes and 10 seconds. The birthday boy, David, 2:13. And Len at a minute and 54 seconds. Everybody made time, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you. So you can vote for either Jill, Dave Licata, or Len Thornton for best table topic speaker. And I have to take a step backwards because I screwed up. I neglected to introduce my general evaluator, Jackie Kenny.
Thank you. I made a note. I will be making notes as we go along and do a report at the end of the meeting about how the evaluators do and the general enjoyment of the meeting, we'll call it. Thank you.
Thank you. I tried to cover my butt. It was too late. Now we come up with a number of days today, or Jill did when we were talking about this. It is Look for Circles Day. I have no idea what that means, but it is. One that sounds Toastmasters, circle. Very good. We are not keeping score. It happens to be National Deviled Egg Day. Now that's fun. I have another one here, which should get a rise out of a certain segment of our group. It is National Men Make Dinner Day. Yeah. I like to cook. I don't care. But seeing how we have a long program, let's get into it. Our first speaker today will be Dr. Gerald Stevens, who is evaluated by Tracy Farrell. Are you ready, Tracy?
I am, and I posted as my being evaluator number 2, but evaluator number 1 works out just as well. Dr. Stevens is working from the Persuasive Influence manual. His project is one of the newer projects in the manual, and it really is, the purpose of it is for him to practice using vocal variety and to enhance his speech. So we'll really be listening for that as he gives us his speech. Do you have it's 5 to 7 minutes. Do you have his title, Mr. Toastmaster?
I do.
All right, Mr. Toastmaster.
So let me introduce Dr. Gerald Stevens with the rest of the story.
Good morning, fellow Toastmasters. Rise and shine. AM Lockport, worth getting up for. I want to talk a little bit about the rest of my story. In this case, I have been doing a series of speeches, breaking up my life into different segments. Often I feel the icebreaker is not enough detail. So where I left off last was chiropractic school. I want to talk about life after chiropractic school. Believe it or not, it's been 22 years since I graduated chiropractic school. 8 more years I can retire. That's insane to me. 8 more years. Doesn't seem that far away, not gonna lie. In recent stories we've seen on the web and popular figures of over the years, in this recent year have passed. We've had quite a few people pass. Icons, Tina Turner, Jimmy Buffett, and the latest is Matthew Perry and his story. And you think, what did they leave behind? What are they remembered for? So I think a lot about this, thinking I only have 8 years left of my career and I'm getting older, sad to say. But also I'm happy to say because there's more I can do. So I'm kind of conflicted. And I do have a little eldritch sense of what is to come. What have I done in these 22 years? Many of you know that I adopted 4 kids all at once. That happened last 22 years. The oldest is 29 now. The youngest is 23. It was a journey getting those kids raised, teaching them, trying to teach them good values. I am proud to say that they are hard workers. So I had some effect on them. They probably would have had a lot tougher lives in their previous situations. I would like to think that we made a difference there, bringing them out of the bad situations they were in. The oldest is Danielle. She's a housewife, watches 2 kids, makes a good house. Those kids are doing great. My son Corey went to the Marines, got some good values there, and he's a manager at a store in Virginia. My daughter Caitlin, she went in the Army, went to Japan, did some great things there, did that for a little bit, again, got additional foundation. And she has a son who's 4, who's actually at home in our area now, which is great. And she's a great worker. She's a department manager of her job at a technology store. And my youngest, Amber, she's also a hard worker. In fact, she has 2 jobs. She works, she's trained to be a manager at 7-Eleven, and she is also a department manager at her other job in Williamsville. So the kids are doing okay. So I'm happy about that. So it's part of my legacy. What about work? So I've been doing this for a while. What legacy do I have there? Well, I've worked 20 years at the New York Chiropractic College, now called Northeast College of Health Sciences. And I've seen 1,500 students, 1,500. That's a lot. That's a lot of students. And they are doing a lot of adjustments on a lot of people. So in my mind, I'm thinking, well, hey, they're making an impact. Maybe 1 or 2 things that I taught them made a difference. So I'm happy about that. They are practicing. There's a lot of them in the area. We had our annual fall CE the other day that I run every year. We had 213 doctors. And yeah, it's nice to see them every year. So they come in, you hear about their families and everything, and they're doing good. So I'm pretty proud about that. What else have I done in 22 years? I've done a little travel. So I dabbled here or there. You hear a lot of stories about that. So that for me, that's kind of a personal accomplishment. Not too much international last 22 years, just France and Russia. That's it. And but I've made quite a few states. My goals, have you heard in many speeches, have been the national parks. Seen quite a few of them. The last 3 years have been amazing with that. But haven't done much this year. Weather and health issues. My wife kind of put a little damper on that, but hey, the speed bump. There's still time for more. Just got to keep working out so I can climb those mountains. And maybe we can do some more. So I'm excited about that. So I don't know if you think about your future, your legacy, things you've done over your lives. Maybe it's just that I'm getting old and I think about these things because I'm on the shorter end of things. And I know we have older Toastmasters there that probably think of some of these things as well. So my challenge for you is to live a life worth living, to make an amazing legacy, and to be remembered. What would I like to be remembered for? I'd like the people to think of me and say, hey, that crazy guy did this. And that's a funny story. And hell, he wore an Indiana Jones hat to a movie one time. So these are fun things I like people to sit around, have a few drinks, and maybe toast me when my days are over. So I keep working on that, and I encourage you all to do the same. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you. Our second speaker today is Marty Johnson. He'll be evaluated by Mike Florio. Mike?
Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our guests. Marty will be speaking from the Pathways Leadership Development, Level 4, and this is an elective speech, and this is kind of an eldritch speech, okay, for Marty, because the time is 5 to 7 minutes, but he has 15 minutes because there will be disruptors. So this is our chance to maybe torture Marty a little bit. So I want to see, all our people out there that have a role in disrupting. Let's see if we can get to 15 minutes here. Let's see if we can do this with Marty. So, yeah. Marty, you're in for a challenge, but you're DTM. I know you're up for it. Do you have his title? Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you. Marty Johnson, stern or treating? Marty?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. Most welcome guest. I heard Sam Otto, our district director, is in the house.
Yes, Marty.
By a
Marty,
hand.
are you the real Marty Johnston?
I am the real Marty Johnston. Are you the real Sam Otto?
Yes, I am.
Okay, great. Now we got that figured out. I would like to see by a show of hands, how many of you in the audience today are familiar with trunk or treating? Okay, we have some members on, everyone on Zoom, most people here. How about something everyone's heard of, unless you've been living under a rock for years? Trick or treating. Everyone's heard of trick or treating. We all still have our teeth. Most of mine are not real, but I know all about trick or treating. How about stern or treating? Fellow Toastmasters, I don't see any hands here or on Zoom. So I'm going to tell you all about stern or treating.
Excuse me, Marty. What do you think about the really small fun size, as they call them, candies? Is that ridiculous or what? When I was a kid, you used to get a candy bar, and it was a true candy bar. Okay, it wasn't these tiny little half a bite things. What do you think about those? Anybody else have a problem with that? That's freaking ridiculous. I hate that. Marty, what do you think about that?
Absolutely. And Len, for you asking that brilliant question, I would like to give you, this is a fun size Milky Way, and it's still the date, it's good through 3052. So thank you for your participation. And I think they're great. That's the last one of a king size bag, and I especially saved it for today. Thank you for participating. I think they're great. They're a great on the go snack. Thank you for your question. It's very excellent. So stern or treating, I did a little research and I revisited the Susquehanna River Valley. Most of you have heard my speech that I talked about a defining moment in my life. When I was in a canoe race marathon, I had a defining moment in that race. Well, I revisited that area this past Tuesday for Halloween. And what I did, I had my one-man canoe and I paddled down the Susquehanna River from Cooperstown. And through my research from NPR, National Public Radio, I found out that there are over 800 homes in Cooperstown alone, where the Hall of Fame is. And out of those 800 homes, approximately 20% or about 160 of those homes have children. I said, what a great way to load up the back of my canoe with candy. And what I did, I couldn't use the Milky Way that I gave Len, but I had a bunch of these bit of honeys and apples, and I would grab them out from the stern of my canoe, the rear of my canoe. I would slingshot them to all the kids. I sent notices to their parents in advance, and the kids were lined up along the riverbank. Oh my gosh, I think they had a wonderful time. And I did too, because I got rid of all this candy that I've had stored during COVID. I had, my apartment was full of it.
I don't think that ever happens. I doubt it. You have candy for us too. Because Len got good candy and
You know, you both reminded me of something very, very, very memorable. I have some bit of honeys. I have some bit of honeys for you. And Mary Elizabeth, good catch. Thank you. You know, that's a great point, because there are years that I've done that race, and because it's in the valley, when they get an inch of rain, it actually seems like it doubles the water level that's there, because it's so shallow usually, unless there's rain or a lot of snow melt. So thank you for that wonderful reflection of years past with your experience with your daughter and your family in the Susquehanna River. Beth and Kate. But there are definitely some alternatives to trick or treating, trunk or treating, especially trunk or treating. Especially trunk or treating, because with trunk or treating, you have to take your family or your kids to an area and waste your time and wear and tear in your car and gas and your time cost to go to this, whether it's a church parking lot or a mall parking lot. You have to clear out the trunk of your car of whatever you have in there that you don't really want to move. So there's sort of a hassle. But with this stern or treating, I think the people in the Susquehanna River Valley really appreciated it, because they could stay right at home. They could stay right at home on the riverbank and just wait for me to come by, and I'd see the waving hand and I'd slingshot the candy to them. And I think that the kids really appreciated it, especially when it didn't go in the bonfire that they were having along that side. And actually, are you nervous, Mary Elizabeth? I noticed that, well, sometimes I do that too. Dun, 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 dun. Are you a piano player? I noticed that you're tapping your pen. But that's okay, Mary. That's okay. Well, what happened was that the last part of the stretch with my delivery, I did see a couple bonfires, and that's how I made it to the last few homes, because I could see the bonfire and I could see the shadow of the kids. And when I saw them, I aimed the best I could. Some of them may have got a little melted candy, but I think they appreciated the thought. And so I had a wonderful time. And I look forward to next year, especially with perhaps.
I can't wait any longer. I have a comment to make about this whole idea.
Oh, yes.
You are flinging food at children and could seriously injure someone. As a mother, I find that objectionable. This trunk or treating thing is awful. Why would you want to walk around a parking lot in your costume when you could be knocking on doors and soaping windows? This is what Halloween is all about. I really don't like these ideas at all.
Well, Jackie, that's a great point, because not that stern or treating is eldritch in any manner. It's more to create fun for the kids. And I understand what you're saying about the tradition of trick or treating, but there might be some people in the area, especially with the 200-year anniversary of the canal coming up in the next year or two, that there may be some local interest, and the people, maybe the majority of the people will like that traditional trick or treating. But I did test out with the Defense Department, and I had this, it's all certified, and with the Archery Association, the Slingshot Association, and they all said that it was okay, because I'm using a smaller band. So it really, it just sort of flings it. There's not a lot of pressure up against, you know, like almost like a pressure, like Klinger would, or Clunker, or whatever his name is on what's his name? On Seinfeld, you know, and he comes in the door and it wouldn't push you back. Kramer. Yeah, that's his name. Kramer. Well, David, thank you so much. Next time, let me know and I'll open up my shirt pocket a little wider. David, thank you for the candy. It was I felt like I was back at our parade when we had our Toastmasters reenactment of the opening of the canal, and people were throwing candy at our float. And I see Len and many of the other members here were participants. But do you have any more candy you want to throw? Oh, so, okay. Okay. Oh, Dave, may I suggest next year for your 76th birthday, you take up perhaps a pitching lesson of some sort. I'm sure you know the right person in your family to go to, possibly Michael for that one. And I'm sure he could help you out. But fellow Toastmasters, I know that many of you have heard of trunk or treating, definitely trick or treating. And now that you know a little bit more about stern or treating, perhaps you would like to get involved and provide an not necessarily in a fearful way or eldritch, but more of a creating fun for the kids in a fun manner, to see just a smile on the kids' faces when they get their trick or treat. I can specifically remember my mother would always do something different. She would have candy, but she would also make homemade popcorn balls. And I didn't take any of those with me on my trip, but I think if we have this event during the celebration of the canal in Lockport in a year or two, maybe I can make up a batch and put those in the stern of my canoe. What were they doing in the backs of the boats? Were they? Oh, they're trick or treating. They were doing that in Wilson. Huh. I'm sure that there were many parties. I don't think there are many boats left in the water, but I'm sure, Jill, that those kids, some of them probably weren't kids. Some of them were probably adults, and I don't know if they're eating candy. They maybe drinking a beer or some other beverage in the back of the boats. But thank you for that. Thank you for that mention of that definite reflection on there. But it's just great to see the smile on the kids' faces. And with trunk or stern or treating, there's no tricks. It just treats. And I was very happy to be able to do that. Mr. Toastmaster of the day, Steve. Thank you.
Is it safe to come back up here now? Are we through throwing things? Yeah. Butterfinger? I'll take that. Talking about scaring kids. I have a story. We didn't do it so much this year. Kids were having fun, but last year, and I'm trying to think how to clean this up. Last year, we had these 3 teenage boys. They come walking. As she had said, she set up this path going through everything, leading right into our garage. Well, these 3 boys were coming up the sidewalk. I step out of the garage with my full count makeup on. And the one kid screams, "Bleep this," and they turn around and ran out of here. I enjoy Halloween. Oh, yeah. Oh, I did this to one last night. I was sitting, I had a whole makeup on because I do this on Halloween. I got to go and work with the Lions later on. And I'm sitting there in a chair. Some kids came in, so I just sat there. And one girl's looking at me. I turned and looked at her. She wasn't sure if I was one of our animatronics or if I was real. Sometimes Jill wonders the same thing. Anyway, our third speaker today is Nancy Ferry. She is being evaluated by David Jones. David, can you tell us what she's going to do today?
I'm going to give you a very Eldridge introduction of Nancy because I don't know what she's going to do today. There's nothing on the agenda. And unfortunately, I was traveling here to sunny Tampa, which is 50 degrees this morning. I don't have any information other than it's going to be a wonderful speech.
Do we have a time parameter for this?
Yes, we do. I have that much. She'll be speaking for 5 to 7 minutes. And her title is Resiliency. Nancy?
Thank you. And David, I forgot to press save. I am so sorry. That's one of the lessons that I still haven't learned in the in the Zoom world is to press save. Last week when I was Toastmaster, we used the theme of resiliency, and I thought we need to learn a little bit more about resiliency, or at least I do. Last week we used the slinky to remind us of how resilient a slinky can be. However, don't get this poor little thing twisted or there's no bouncing back. The other thing I just heard is that it's National or whatever Looking for Circles Day. So woohoo, I've got a couple hundred of them that I got taken in one swoop. The second one was the silly putty, which is not very resilient. It can roll into a ball, it can stretch, it can also snap very easily. It can also freeze a little in the car. But when you stretch it, if you stretch it too hard, it snaps and it doesn't ever bounce back unless you're bouncing it on the floor. So it does have a little bit of bouncy resiliency. The rubber band was the third one that I used, as it can be resilient, but only under pressure. When I think of resiliency, I think of that image, probably a lot of us have seen it, with a little flower or a weed coming up through the sidewalk. That's resiliency, making it through hard times. Why is it that some people get so devastated if they go into a restaurant and what they wanted isn't on the menu, or they break a nail and fall apart? Why is it that there's some people like that? And then there's people who have their homes devastated by floods or fires. They don't have some of the necessities in life, and somehow they find peace and hope. Resiliency is defined as the capacity to remain flexible and adaptable physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, while facing life's challenges. Also, having persistence and tenacity in the face of difficulty. There are many factors that contribute. Those are our personality traits, how we were raised, our genetics, our environmental factors, social support, previous positions, previous positive adaptions. When we learn how to adapt in one situation, it helps us for the next one. Our life experiences and the amount of exposure that we've had to challenges. Resilience also means understanding that life is full of challenges. Everything changes every day, and there's no free pass through life. All those challenges, changes, mistakes, the weather, human will, whatever it is that creates those challenges in our lives. While we can't avoid life's problems, we can practice ways to remain open, a little bit flexible, and willing to adapt to change. My life work has always called me to be with people who are in tough life situations. I won't give you a list, but it does include trauma and violence, poverty, illness, death, loss, addiction, and natural disasters. I've met some of the most amazing, resilient people. in my life in those situations. People who've been traumatized, and somehow they still find ways of coping and withstanding the negative effects of stress. I'll never forget a woman I met in Haiti. She had lost 3 children due to lack of proper nutrition and clean water. She walked 2 miles to come to church, an outdoor church. She wasn't bemoaning her lot. She was praising. She was praising God with gratitude for all of her gifts and her blessings. And my heart's going out to this woman when I talked to her. I was like, where does she get it? I don't think I had that kind of deep faith or resiliency. Resilient people are much more adaptable, open to changes and experiences, new experiences, adapt to healthy perspective. How do we become more resilient? It's a good question. How do we become more resilient? Build a community of support. Anticipate and accept that change happens. And it's unpredictable. Find ways to be hopeful and grateful. Find some meaning and purpose in your life, especially in times of adversity. Develop a survivor, not a victim mentality. Focus on the positive outcomes. Adopt effective coping strategies like positive self-talk, visualization, humor, exercise, goals, mindfulness, relaxation techniques. Manage your stress and emotions. Learn to practice self-compassion and self-care. Step out of your comfort zone. Step into your challenge zone. But be careful when you step into your overwhelm zone, because that's when your slinky can get really twisted. It happens to all of us. Seek out support. Find your ways that you are resilient. And if you feel like you're lacking them, ask. Find out what other people do in adverse situations. So we can be like a slinky, just don't get twisted. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you. Can we get a timers report on our speakers?
Yes, indeedy, Mr. Toastmaster. I'll get to Marty's in a minute, but Dr. Stevens came in at 6 minutes and 8 seconds. Now, Marty's speech was 5 to 7 minutes, and for 15 minutes, I was confused. So forgive me. So Marty went over the 7-minute mark, but for his 15-minute speech, I clocked him at 11 minutes and 48 seconds. And Nancy at 7 minutes and 5 seconds. Thank you.
Thank you. So you can vote for Dr. Gerald, Marty, or Nancy as best speaker of the day. I was looking at what other days this might happen to be, because I said Halloween is past. Well, it is and it isn't, because now we have to take all of that stuff down and put it away. And we've already been strategizing as to where do we start? How do we attack this? Do it by degrees so we're not stumbling over stuff. Get it down, pack it away, and have some sort of logical process to this. Because when we get done with all that, it'll be time to put up Christmas decorations. Because it will take us the better part of this month to get last month's stuff down. But let's move ahead to our evaluators. First up is Tracy Farrow evaluating Dr. Gerald. Are you ready, Tracy?
I am. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. fellow Toastmasters, and especially Dr. Stevens, the rest of the story. Dr. Stevens opened up his speech with, "Good morning, fellow Toastmasters," with a lot of emphasis. So, and that was the whole purpose of his speech, to add emphasis and catch our attention with his vocal variety. So he did a fantastic job there. I have to tell you, this is an interesting project. It's new to Toastmasters, so I'm not going to be totally adept on everything. But some of it talks about the loudness or the volume. I thought he did a great job. He wasn't too loud. He wasn't too quiet. He was maybe, I put him a little bit, not center, a little bit to the flat side, but he still was expressive with us. The pitch, very nice. It was talking about shrill and full. This is where I had a problem, and I'm going to be really interested in how other people evaluate this project, talking about their pitch, their voice quality, if it's nasal or breathy, harsh, raspy, lifeless. I thought he did a fantastic job, and I know everybody else here, but it'll be interesting to see how we go on to evaluate these types of speeches. As always, Dr. Stevens is very articulate. He never mispronounces words, and he had good word choices. His timing and canter was very good, and he had deliberate speaking ability, very fluent. His vocal variety was good. It was very natural. So I thought he really accomplished all of the goals of this speech. A couple of things I would give him some suggestions on. During his speech, he was in his chair, and this is what we have to be careful of when we're working and doing a speech from our work chairs, is he was going back and forth in his chair. So kind of be a little bit careful about that. Maybe in this type of speech, you could do more sound effects. I'm retiring, woohoo! But then I have 8 more years. Kind of put in a little bit of vocal variety there, but still you did a fantastic job on what you did. I thought it was a fantastic speech, as you always give us. You always give us an interesting perspective in your speeches. So I think it was fantastic, everything that you did. Hope to hear a lot more, and I hope the next 8 years are fantastic for you. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you. Our second evaluator will be Mike Florio evaluating Marty Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our guests, and definitely Marty, for sure. Marty, you were cool as a cucumber, okay? You came up here and right out of the gate, you got heckled by the guest. Who gets heckled by the guest? Not too many people. And you took care of that, no problem. And you went right on to your speech, which I thought was great. It had everybody wondering what it was. What is it? What is this Sterner treating? And you came out and you let us all know what it was. I thought you had great hand gestures. You worked the crowd very well. Len came right out, and I wasn't even expecting that. I wasn't expecting people to come out and walk up to the lectern. Who does that kind of thing? You know, you shouldn't be allowed to, but Len walks right up, and Marty, with no problem at all, just says, "Hey, yeah." And you pulled out the candy bar, which I think every one of these where anybody decided which one they wanted, I don't think you set that up, did you? I mean, that was right off the cuff. So that was awesome that you did that. Who knew that Jackie would be a wonderful Karen? Okay. I mean, she came up here and started complaining, and Marty, you walked right up to her, not a problem, shut her down, set her down real nicely in her seat. And it's like, okay, let's move on to the next one. Interrupt her. Len did a great job. The chatterer, Beth, I could see you going on and on. The arguer, Kate, I think that's where, what you needed, Marty, was the slingshot to take care of the arguer and just bing, there you go, Kate, there's your candy. He pulled out Mary right away, that knowing that she was the silent one. I thought that was awesome. He even took care of Dave, who's throwing candy from the back of the class here. He's the class bully. So I thought that everything went really well. We almost pushed him right to the 15-minute time period. I thought he did a great job. It was a lot of fun. He turned that speech into a lot of fun, and I thought you did a wonderful job. Thank you.
Thank you. Talking about the full-size candy bars and the whatever they are they're handing out now. When I was at the fire hall last night working with the Lions, I was hearing several people saying how a lot of the kids were getting full-size candy bars. And most of who in the heck has got that kind of money to hand out full-size candy bars? But apparently it was happening in Wilson. That was the place to be last night. So let's move along to our third evaluator. Evaluating Nancy Ferry will be David Jones. David?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, and good morning, fellow Toastmasters. And thank you, Nancy, for your speech. You had a good interplay of emotions and energy with your audience. And right from the beginning with your props, you kind of pulled us in with a little bit of humor with your slinky and your silly putty. I think for your title of your speech, Resiliency, the silly putty was a great proper visual, because you showed that you can pull on it, but if you pull too hard, it's going to break in half. And I think that was kind of connected us to what you were trying to say. Going to the basics of public speaking, you had great body language, great hand movements, great energy. You had some good vocal variety. Specifically, when you started talking about Haiti, you lowered your voice, and we knew you were going to say something profound. And you went into the story about the lady who had to walk a few miles to the church and was appreciative of it. Now, for room for improvement, you stood at the lectern, behind the lectern, holding on to it. And sometimes that's fine. You don't always have to use the stage. But based on your speech and your props, I thought if you had the headset on and you kind of walked around with the slinky and the silly putty, it would have engaged the audience a little bit more instead of just standing there and showing it. And the other thing was, I might have missed it, but you kind of quoted the definition of resiliency. In fact, you read it off a piece of paper. And I was just wondering what your source was. Whenever we quote something or repeat something that we've read or written down, we should always give our source. And finally, the third thing is always hit save on the agenda. I know what you're doing. But your call to action was good. It was a long call to action. Usually it's one sentence, but I think you did a whole page of call to action, basically the meaning of life. And I had a few takeaways. You said, step out of your comfort zone, which everybody says. But you went to say even more, step out of your comfort zone to the challenge zone. I've never heard of that, but I feel like going to the challenge zone. You also did the visual of Slinky gets twisted, just like when we're overwhelmed. That was a good visual. And your final statement, again, I thought was great. You were like, be like a Slinky, don't get twisted as you played with the Slinky. And I thought that was a great, impactful speech with a great ending. And I appreciate your speech this morning, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you. I will call upon Eric for the final time today. Give us a timers report on our evaluators.
It will be my pleasure, Mr. Toastmaster. First off, I want to use the word Eldridge so I can get my fill in. So there you go, Sylvia. Everybody made time today. Tracy came in at 2:58. Mike Florio came in at 2:33, and David Jones at 2:32. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Eric. So you can vote for Tracy, Mike, or David as best evaluator. I have one more comment to make about Halloween. And I'm probably not the right person to talk about this. Kate is. The fact that it is also Samhain. Celebration of that. Now, I have a big problem. I love the Halloween movies, but in Halloween 2, I grate my teeth every time Donald Pleasance calls it Sam Hain. I had a long-standing argument with my brother. He said, that's got to be right. No, it is not. It's pronounced Samhain, right? Yes, thank you. That's my one beef. And we're doing great time-wise. Let's keep it up. Let me call up our general evaluator, Jackie Kenny.
Great meeting this morning. I enjoyed the speeches and we had wonderful evaluations. I think the theme was a lot of fun. There's always a lot going on around this time of year. I had a good Halloween at my house, although I didn't get many trick-or-treaters. But the little boy across the street, dressed as the part of E.T. where the boy is on his bicycle and he has E.T. in the basket. And I happened to have Reese's Pieces to give away. So it was a perfect circle. All right. Yeah. Marty, I appreciated that you took such great care with the setup of your speech. Up to and including making sure that your hecklers were anonymous to you. I thought that was terrific. I thought your evaluator was wonderful. Calling me a Karen was pretty funny. It was perfect, and I wasn't even thinking that when I came up here, but that was great. You gave Marty or kind of a whitewash, though. Yeah, I didn't hear any strong suggestions for improvement. The only thing I could think of is there were some very long pauses when he was coming up with whatever he was going to do next. But on the whole, it was excellent. Tracy Farrell gave us a wonderful evaluation. And I liked the things that she had to say. It was a great sandwich with room for improvement as well as a lot of praise. And David Jones logged in with some good suggestions and also praise. And that's what we do here. We are encouraging people to do their best and to strive for what comes next. The same goes for our Toastmaster of the day. Great job. Don't start off your day by apologizing for what you haven't accomplished. Just move on and let us know what all the positives are. Now, would you like me to do reports or do you want to come back up and do those? Okay. Then let's hear from our quiz master. Carol Ann, would you like to come up and puzzle everybody through some questions? Carol Ann Halstead.
What is Jill's favorite holiday?
Halloween.
And how many people went through their Halloween walk?
Over 200.
250, right. And where did Len go to school? Can anybody tell me at least one of the radio stations that, okay, we hit the both. And a lot of wives are probably happy that today is what kind of a day or? Right. And, I know, you talked to the rest of the story. Does anybody know, who had that on the radio? Yeah, I knew it'd be somebody in my age group. And how long has Dr. Gerald been out of school? Okay. And do you know the age range of his children?
Tougher one.
And how many students have gone through the program? Yeah, there's three. And what instead of trick or treat or trunk or treat, does Marty do? Okay. And what type of mentality did Nancy say we should have?
Resilience.
Survival mentality,
Survival.
actually. Okay. General
questions. All right. It's time for the WAG Masters Report. You can tell us all how we did with the word eldritch. You can't just say it, you have to use it. So I just said it, doesn't.
I'll still give you credit. After table topics, Dr. Gerald Stevens used it, Mike Florio, Marty a couple times in his speech. That's very good in my book. Eric used it. Jackie just said it. For grammarian, I did have a couple little things I picked up on. So, it must have been, everybody else must have heard it because I'm not a very good grammarian. Marty said very excellent to Len after Len came up and questioned him about the candy bars. And I want the big candy bars that they put out at Christmas, not the little ones. Leave very out or say very good or excellent question. Then he also said, gotten melted candy. That didn't sound quite right to me, but gotten melted candy when you were flinging. Right. It's a different way of phrasing it. But I liked your speech because a lot of it was, to me, felt like it was off the cuff, and I would reverse words as I do when I speak. Eric, I did hear 2 ums, myself and. Dr. Gerald Stevens did sneak a in there. Marty, like I said, I felt your speech was more off the cuff, which I loved. You hit a couple start overs. And that is my report.
Thank you very much. And now I will turn the meeting back over to the Toastmaster of the day, Steve.
I saw one costume last night while I was at the fire hall, or Tuesday night, while I was at the fire hall. There was a little boy dressed up as a vending machine. He had the whole front in there, like the one down the hall here where they got the screws that bring the candy out. It was all very elaborate inside. We awarded him the prize for the most original. I was really impressed with that. Of course, we had a number of other little kids. One was dressed like a vampire and he's looking at me. So I think I will call up our officer of the day and we'll close the meeting out. We have some winners to announce.
Very good. You're good.
All right.
Want me to
Yeah, go ahead.
announce? Okay. Maybe Parway.
Thank you, Steve. Our table topics winner for today, happy birthday, David. There we go. Thank you. Our best evaluator for today is Tracy Farrell. Give it through the, yeah. And our best speaker for today is Nancy Ferry. Thank you.
Yeah, draw
Oh.
for the, someone get that organized, 50-50. 50-50. Oh, I got it. Huh?
And the number for the split club.
345-898.
898.
And Dave
Congratulations,
Licata
Dave.
won on his birthday. There we go. You can buy us breakfast. Somehow, yeah, I don't think that'll work very well. Thanks everyone for a great meeting today. Steve, wonderful job. Kate, you said you have an announcement?
Thank you very much. We are meeting at Tom's Diner for breakfast. It's David's choice today. It's his choice many days, but it's definitely his choice today. Everyone is welcome. Tom's Diner. Well, can you make it? Okay. He just said he forgot. Okay. I will announce that in honor of David's birthday also next Friday evening. I'll put this out in an email also. But if anyone is interested, we are going to see Casablanca on the big screen at the Screening Room Cafe at the Boulevard Mall. It's at 7 p.m., followed by trivia night. And so this is perfect for David. So we will be a trivia team. If there are more of us than one team, we will break into multiple teams and more details will be forthcoming. And Len has an announcement.
Yes, for next week, we have Jackie Kenny as Toastmaster. Speakers include Mike Florio, Steve Smith, and Les Robinson. Evaluators, Nancy Ferry, Mike Licata, and David Licata. Ooh, it'll be a family face-off there. That's all.
Any other announcements?
Any other announcements?
I have an announcement.
David does.
Okay.
First off, Jackie, this Saturday is the Autumn Splendor and Chicken Chowder Sale at All Saints.
Yes,
Yes,
it is.
Okay. Do you know how much is the chicken chowder? If I try to remember correctly.
It's on the website.
It's on the website. Okay. All right. Perfect. All right. Yep. This weekend, everybody, come on out. And before I forget, Sam, do you want to offer some few comments?
Thank you.
Thank you, Sam.
Yeah, yes, I'd be happy to. And during Marty's presentation, it's very challenging to be a disruptor at such a nice guy, but I couldn't resist. So thank you, Marty. You're such a great sport. And I do have some key dates to make sure everybody's aware of. And before I get started that, did everybody receive the newsletter? Because some folks, I don't know what happens, but they opt out on their profile to receive emails from World Headquarters. If you do that, you won't receive emails from us when we upload in constant context, so please let me know. Because there's some key dates coming up. We have a workshop November 18th to help prepare for, creating speeches for contests. There will be a Black Friday special for the conference, and that will be sent out in a couple weeks. So please be watchful of that. We have some speech contest training on the 28th, followed by the club officer training. November 28th, it's a Tuesday night. And then the remaining ones will be January 13th and 16th, which are on another Saturday and Tuesday. And the conference, we have an in-person conference. And we also have Jocelyn Tyson, the most recent world champion, who will be there to see everybody. So back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. I do have a question. Last year, the website for District 65 calendars updated. Check that out. That's super simple to
Yes, it
find,
is.
everybody.
Yeah.
So if you didn't write down all those dates, at one point we said that that conference is the first weekend of May, but on the calendar, I noticed it's the last weekend of April. Is that right? It's
Yes, it did
April.
change
Okay.
due to some conflicts. So thank you for clarifying that.
Okay, no, I was just double checking. Awesome. Thank you so much, Sam, for coming out. We appreciate your visit, and I know we'll chat soon. The conference will be in Rochester, so it's not too far. It's central to the whole district. It was chosen. I'm on the committee, but I haven't attended a meeting in a while, so I will keep you posted. We've been pretty busy. But it looks pretty fun. I saw, we'll talk about that more too as the time rolls on. Plus, we have our 40th anniversary party in April, so we have some of those details to work out. But I did see that David Jones also had his hand raised. Do you have an announcement also, sir?
No, I was just gonna say to acknowledge Sam. But
Awesome. Everybody wanted to acknowledge Sam. I'm nudging mom over here. Eric's got it. David's got it. Sam, we love you. Thank you for joining us. And it's the real Sam Otto. I'm liking the beard. That's nice.
Thank
Very
you.
nice.
No beard
Anybody-
November. You gotta follow.
Where are you zooming in again for anybody who does not know?
And,
From-
and right in Rochester.
Okay, right in Rochester too. So awesome. All right, looks like we're good to go. We're gonna wrap it up at 8. Oh, wait, yep, David Licata. Do you want a microphone? Okay.
Should we sing happy birthday to him again?
Oh, yes, Edna was the sew master. Yep. Lots of sews. Don't drop sews. And reach out to Edna. Anybody else who wants to reach out to any of our members we haven't seen in a while. And the personal touch is great. So, but don't tell her so. Anything else? Do I see any hands raised? Eric said something else.
I just said, should we sing happy birthday to Dave again?
Again, happy birthday to you. Come out next Friday and say happy birthday to David again. Thank you all so much. We sang it when you first walked in the door for anyone who arrived a little bit late. You can sing it to him later. And we all signed a lovely card for you, David. So we're going to hand that off to you as well. And I'll let mom close out our meeting.
Okay, and the meeting is adjourned.